I've always been drawn to mysteries, to the hidden corners that people usually shy away from. And among those, the dark web was always a haunting name, an underworld I was curious to explore. At that time, I was a second-year university student, and among my friends, accessing the dark web was almost a trend. Everyone told thrilling stories, cool experiences from venturing into it. Initially, I was quite cautious. Warnings about hackers, viruses, or dark websites that could ruin your life kept lingering in my mind. But then, curiosity won over fear. I decided to try. I asked my best friend Mark, a tech-savvy guy who knew his way around these things. Mark came to my place with a serious expression, warning me about everything. "You're sure you're not planning to do anything illegal, right?" he asked. I nodded profusely. "If not, you don't even need Tails. Tor is enough," he said, referring to a specialized operating system for absolute anonymity. After nearly an hour of installation and instructions, I had a brand new IP address and a long list of do's and don'ts when browsed the dark web. Mark especially emphasized, "If you go to the hidden wiki, you have to turn on safe mode. There are things you never want to see." His voice dropped significantly when he said this, his eyes full of warning. I nodded profusely, thinking to myself that I was well prepared for anything. For the first 2 weeks, I felt like a professional hacker. I surfed through all kinds of websites, from ancient knowledge exchange forums to virtual stores selling miscellaneous items. I befriended a few interesting strangers, and even managed to buy some weed there, an act that, looking back, I find incredibly foolish and reckless. Overconfidence gradually took over. I thought I was pro enough to explore deeper, to touch the limits that others feared. The feeling of conquering an underworld, of being a part of it, was exhilarating. That night, heavy rain tapped against my window, adding to the eerie atmosphere. I turned off safe mode on the hidden wiki. New links appeared, glittering like invitations. The connection was slow and many links were expired, but eventually I clicked on a link titled The Abyssal Archive. The name itself sent shivers down my spine, but the adrenaline coursing through my veins made me ignore all warnings. The website that appeared was a massive forum divided into countless topics. My psychological resilience was quite strong. I had seen gruesome horror movies and disturbing gore on social media, but this place was different. It was more sickening than anything I had ever witnessed. The people in these chat rooms weren't faking it. They were real murderers bragging about the horrific crimes they had committed, every word imbued with cold-bloodedness and madness. In a chat room named Night Hunters, a user with the nickname Shadow Stalker was live blogging. He recounted breaking into a house in the suburbs, kidnapping a young girl and brutally murdering her parents. He hid under the bed, waiting for the opportune moment, then struck. After that, he took the girl to his home, abused her, beat her, and slashed her with a knife. Each word he typed felt like a knife cutting into my mind. Initially, I didn't believe his words were real until he started posting photos. Those were the most horrifying pictures I had ever seen. Close-ups of a girl's face, about 10 years old, abused, beaten, and mutilated by a knife. My heart seemed to stop. He continued to post the latest photos of the girl tied to a chair, bleeding profusely, her face full of tears and despair. The depravity and cruelty in each picture made my stomach churn. Then he posted a picture of himself holding a drill, drilling it straight into the girl's skull. The most haunting detail was that as he performed that disgusting act, he looked straight into the camera, a sickeningly satisfied smile plastered on his face. I sat motionless, my entire body trembling. I was ice cold, and intense horror enveloped me. Enough, more than enough. I couldn't bear another second. Hot tears streamed down my face. I started typing furious messages into the chat room. "It appears like you all deserve to die. How can you sleep at night after doing these things?" Immediately, the people in the chat room started mocking me. They called me a weak child, useless like the girl in the picture, telling me I shouldn't be in a real adult zone. Then Shadow Stalker spoke up. "Oh, where is our little friend? I'm sure everyone here would be very happy if you appeared on our website." A terribly foolish act occurred. My anger and horror had overridden all reason. I replied, "I'm calling the police. You guys will be shut down." About a minute later, everything on the website turned black. The computer screen only showed a chat box with green text. Someone named Admin0 typed, "Call the police and you'll regret it." I didn't reply. My hands were shaking, ice cold. I frantically grabbed my phone, intending to dial the police. What happened next still haunts me to this day, a scar that will never heal in my soul. A message notification popped up on my phone. I opened it. "Content. Call the police and you'll die." Below it was a string of numbers, but strangely it didn't show the sender's name, just an empty space. Cold sweat poured down my back. I turned to look at my laptop and realized my webcam was on. On the screen it was a live image of me looking at my phone, my eyes panicked and my face distraught. I stood there stunned, motionless. Admin0 typed again, "Put the phone down, right now." and turn on the webcam. His voice through the screen was cold, decisive, like an undeniable command. I put the phone down, my hands still trembling uncontrollably, but I didn't turn on the webcam. Faint glimmer of hope for safety remained. "All right, have it your way," he typed. Immediately after, he posted my real name, age, and home address in the chat box, then typed again. "It would be really bad if you and your friends went missing." At that moment, all resistance vanished. Absolute terror suffocated me. I did as he said and turned on the webcam. My face appeared clearly on the screen, pale and covered in sweat. He told me to do what he said so I would never be able to access that website again. He instructed me to delete some files, change network settings, and perform several other complex operations on my computer. I followed each step he guided me through, like a puppet being controlled. After I finished, I received another message. "I don't try to come back." This time it also didn't show the sender's phone number. After that, I still turned on my phone to call the police, but they could never find the website, leaving no trace. Everything seemed to vanish into thin air like a terrifying nightmare I couldn't prove. Since that fateful night, my life has felt like an unending nightmare. Fear crept into every corner of my mind, transforming me into a completely different person. I couldn't sleep peacefully. Every time I closed my eyes, the image of the tortured girl, Shadow Stalker's twisted smile, and Admin Zero's chilling messages would resurface, haunting me to the bone. I started fearing everything, the unexpected ringing of my phone, a strange message from an unknown number, or even just footsteps in the hallway would make me jump. I constantly checked my webcam, worried that it might turn on automatically at any time. Mark, the friend who helped me access the dark web, also noticed my change. I spoke less, often irritable and withdrawn. He asked me what was wrong, but I didn't dare to tell him. How could I explain the horrific things I had witnessed? How could I tell him that I had ventured into a world where a small mistake could make me lose everything? I began neglecting my studies. Lectures in class became meaningless. Numbers and chemical formulas were just a mess in my head. My grades plummeted. I knew I needed to act, but the overwhelming fear paralyzed all willpower. A week after that horrifying night, I received a mysterious package. Inside was a small old wooden box. My heart pounded as I opened it. Inside was a tattered cloth doll with hollowed-out eyes. A scrawled message in fresh red ink was etched onto the doll's chest. "The little girl misses you." My hands trembled and the box fell to the floor. It was the same doll that appeared in one of Shadow Stalker's photos, lying next to the unfortunate girl's lifeless body. In utter panic, I called Mark. I told him everything, from what I had seen in the Abyssal Archive to the threatening messages and the gruesome doll. Mark was silent for a long time, his voice dropping. "You've gotten yourself into serious trouble, buddy." He advised me to change everything from my phone number and social media accounts to my place of residence. The next day, Mark and I went to a computer security shop. The technician, a stern-faced, middle-aged man, examined my laptop. He discovered a sophisticated spyware program that had been installed on my system, allowing the attacker to control my webcam, microphone, and monitor all my activities. He also found several other malicious programs attempting to access my bank accounts and personal information. "Luckily, you came here in time," he said. "Otherwise, the consequences would have been unthinkable." I decided to leave my familiar rental room, to leave the city where I had lived all my student years. I lied to my family, telling them I wanted to pursue educational opportunities in another province. They believed me, though they were a little sad that I had to go far away. I also cut ties with most of my friends, keeping only Mark's number. I even changed my middle name on my identification documents, hoping to conceal my true identity. I moved to a small, secluded town where life was slower and more peaceful. I rented a small, isolated house on the outskirts, far from the city center. I got a new phone number, created a new email account, and completely erased all traces of myself on social media. I even changed my hairstyle, started wearing glasses instead of contact lenses, and tried to alter my fashion style to look different. However, the haunting lingered. Every time the doorbell rang or a strange car stopped in front of the house, my heart pounded. I installed security cameras around the house and always checked the locks carefully before going to bed. I lived in constant fear and vigilance. Despite all my efforts to change everything, the traces from the dark web still pursued me. Occasionally, I would receive strange messages from unidentified numbers with vague but ominous content such as "Are you safe?" or "We're still waiting for you to come back." Once I received an anonymous postcard with only an image of a cloth doll with hollowed-out eyes. I knew it was a reminder that they were still there, still watching me. The nightmares continued, growing more intense. In my dreams, I found myself lost in a dark, endless labyrinth, where cloaked figures with obscured faces chased me. I heard Shadow Stalker's horrifying laughter, the cries of the unfortunate little girl. Sometimes I would wake up in the middle of the night, drenched in sweat, my heart racing, and it would take hours to calm down. I sought out a psychologist. I told her about what had happened, about the fear and obsession that weighed heavily on me. She listened patiently without judgment. She helped me realize that what I experienced was a severe form of psychological trauma, and I needed time to heal. She taught me relaxation techniques, breathing exercises to cope with panic attacks. I started meditating, practicing yoga. I tried to find peace of mind again. I also joined a support group for victims of cyber violence. Listening to their stories, I felt like I wasn't alone. We shared our experiences, and together we tried to overcome the trauma. However, my life could never return to what it was before. I remain wary of everyone and everything around me. I no longer trust anyone absolutely. The innocence and impulsiveness of youth were stolen by the dark web. I understand that this is the price I had to pay for my blind curiosity and overconfidence. Recently, I decided to tell my story, to write it down in these words as a warning to anyone standing at the threshold of the dark web, or anyone who is drawn to mysterious things they don't fully understand. Remember, the dark web is not a game, it's an underworld teeming with danger, where criminals hide, where the most brutal acts are exposed. If you don't have specialized knowledge of cybersecurity, if you don't have special protection tools, and most importantly, if you don't have a strong psyche, never venture into it. What you see on the dark web can haunt you for life, ruin your existence, and turn you into a person filled with fear. That fear will cling to you like a shadow, impossible to shake off. I am a living example of that. I have lost my peace, my trust, and a part of myself. My life now is a continuous struggle to survive, to find meaning in the little things. I don't know if I will ever completely escape the obsession of the dark web. Perhaps it will forever be a deep scar in my soul, a permanent reminder of the worst mistake of my life. I only hope that my story will be a valuable lesson, a powerful warning to anyone contemplating stepping into the world of darkness. Don't let curiosity lead you to the abyss. There are things you never want to see, and once you've seen them, you'll never be able to forget.